I must say, at the outset of my comments, I do agree with the thrust of the points that were made by the member from North East Bedfordshire when he said that this bill was a move in the right direction. And I think that in Northern Ireland we can actually agree with that point. This is definitely the right step for the House to be taking. But in saying that, I think it's important, because this is about the internal markets of the United Kingdom, it's important to set the context of what that market actually means for a place like Northern Ireland. And it's vital that people understand the significance of the internal market of the United Kingdom for businesses, for people, for the employed across our beloved province. Great Britain accounts for 52.7% of Northern Ireland's external sales. So the majority of things that we sell come to the rest of Great Britain. Northern Ireland's food and drink sales, and remember, Northern Ireland food production is the single largest employer in Northern Ireland, but our food and drink sales to Great Britain are valued at over 2.3 billion of our entire local economy. Indeed, the largest market in 6 out of 10 of agri-food subsectors. That's absolutely essential that people understand. Given that the vast majority of our people are involved in food and drink production, the fact that our largest market is our home market means that this market here is vital to the understanding of how our economy works. It doesn't look south. It doesn't look to the north. It looks to our neighbour, to the biggest island in this archipelago of islands. It looks to Great Britain. And that is essential for people to understand how significant our economy is. Of course, I'll give way.
Honourable friend for giving way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Friend, agree with me that for business in Northern Ireland, free and unfettered access to GB is absolutely vital for jobs, growth and prosperity, and any obstacle to that would be critical for jobs and businesses in both your constituency and mine.
The member for Upper Bann makes a vital point, and it's shared, I think, across the House by members who recognise how vital GB is to the Northern Ireland economy, to helping it grow, to helping it flourish. And this market, if I can, Mr. Chairman, if I put some more flesh in the bone about how vital the market is. For example, we've had an increase in freight and vehicle traffic to and from Great Britain for 9 consecutive years. So 532,000 units move out of Belfast Harbour here to GB. That's absolutely critical in understanding how our economy works. Now, I understand you'll want me to move on to our amendments and how those amendments are effective, but whenever 65% of what Northern Ireland purchases, it purchases from GB, you get an idea of how big the GB economy and how important it is, and the point that the member for Upper Bann actually made. We purchase £13.3 billion worth of purchases from GB every year. When you consider the size of the Northern Ireland economy, 1.7 million people, that we purchase almost £14 billion worth from GB. Not from Europe, not from the south of Ireland, not from the United States of America, not from any other European non-EU country, but from GB. So this internal markets bill is vital to us. Getting this right, and the amendments within it, will make sure our country either flourishes or fails. Now, I believe that the members of this House want to see a flourishing union. They have different interpretations of what that union is about, and I have to respect those different interpretations. But I believe that the members from Northern Ireland plead earnestly that we make sure we get a flourishing union. And the amendments, certainly, that my party is bringing forward are about making sure that our union flourishes and that the finances within it flourish. In terms of foreign and direct investment, Mr. Brady, after London, Northern Ireland is the single largest part of the United Kingdom that benefits from foreign and direct investment. So getting a trade deal on top of this is then equally important to us, that we get those trade deals in place. But this is the foundation stone. If I could turn to some of the amendments. Each of these amendments have an impact on the economy of Northern Ireland. An impact which I hope, many of which would be for good, some would be less so. But in terms of the main clause of the bill, we want to make sure that the power to disapply or modify export declarations and other exit procedures, that is implemented and implemented fully. We can't have something which puts Northern Ireland to a disadvantage in terms of its trade and how it operates. We want to make sure that, in terms of Clause 44 of the bill indicates, notification of state aid for the purposes of Northern Ireland Protocol, that Northern Ireland is treated the same as the rest of the United Kingdom. We can't have a situation where Northern Ireland's opportunity to flourish from state aid rules from GB would be changed. Let me give a very specific example. The House has been debating for some time now the issue of free ports. And indeed there's an attempt to identify where the best free ports across the whole of the United Kingdom to be. I would love some of those free ports to be in Northern Ireland, whether it's up in Londonderry at Foyle, or whether it's in Belfast Harbour on Larne, or Warren Point. I'd like to see those areas identified as potential free ports. Under the current protocol, our southern neighbour, who has different economic objectives, set aside its politics, different economic objectives to Northern Ireland, it could object in the EU to Northern Ireland having a free port, and under the protocol stop Northern Ireland having a free port. Now, given that free ports appear to be the way in which the UK is looking, the UK government is looking at how it may drive the economy forward post-Brexit, Northern Ireland could be completely disadvantaged because of the predatory interests, financial predatory interests, of a country that wants to look after itself, namely the south of Ireland, at the behest of the EU. And that would be utterly disastrous. And so I hope that the Minister, whenever they're considering these issues, recognise that we welcome this because it will unfetter the attempt to tie Northern Ireland into a protocol and into a withdrawal agreement that could actually damage financial and economic opportunities that would benefit all of us. And I must say, the idea that some people will put about that this could damage the Belfast Agreement, no matter what side you're on in terms of the Belfast Agreement in 1998, at the end of the day now, we should all be on the side of wanting to make sure that Northern Ireland's economy flourishes, because it's through jobs and employment that people gain satisfaction and contentment. And if you have a contented people, you will not have a problem in terms of people being dissatisfied and community tension rising and problems flowing from that. So getting these economic aspects correct now will make sure that the peace that people cherish is actually the way of ensuring the principles that people have enunciated in this House for their love of the Belfast Agreement or Good Friday Agreement. I've absolutely no doubt about the sincerity of the people who have brought forward amendments from their part of the United Kingdom and how they want to see their part of the United Kingdom operate. But I must say that I hope that the Prime Minister is sincere in what he is bringing forward. I hope Northern Ireland is not going to be used as a pawn in this. And I say that in all sincerity. You can't afford to do that to the emotions of the people of my country. You can't kick them up and down, turn the volume up and turn the volume down, and not expect a reaction. It's far too fraught with people's concerns about their economic well-being to do that. And so I appeal to the government to, if they're doing this and they're implementing this bill, implement it with the sincerity with which we are reading through these clauses and agreeing with the clauses. Do not use us as a pawn to extract some other general concession from the EU and then desert Northern Ireland again. Now, I will say this, once bitten, twice shy. And you can fool a person once, shame on you. But if you fool a person twice, shame on me. And there will be no shame on the Ulster bench in this matter. We're warning the government, treat us with sincerity as we are entitled to. This problem protocol lies behind a lot of the amendments that have been brought before the House this evening, Sir Graham. And indeed, there have been times in the House when people have objected to the protocol because it is discrimination, or perceived as discrimination against Wales or against Scotland, that it disadvantages those regions of the United Kingdom over Northern Ireland. I would say to my colleagues in the House from those parts of the United Kingdom, the protocol actually damaged Northern Ireland, and fixing it now is the best way to actually move forward. And getting into an idea where you can now the next day support a protocol as if it's the best thing ever, whenever for the last while we've heard that there's been objections to the protocol, I think we should stop and think about that. The protocol is the problem, and it needs to be adjusted, it needs to be changed, and we need to address that. Now, the amendments do contain a running theme in them, in that they seek to obtain consent for the devolved institutions, and members have spoken at length about a perceived power grab, and I think that those are issues which the government must try to address, and address cogently, and try to reassure members on that. But I will say this, that it's very difficult for Northern Ireland members to accept those arguments about making sure that the devolved institutions are entirely in step with all of this, because the devolved institutions will never be in step with any of this. For this reason, the devolved institution in Northern Ireland cannot make an opinion on this bill because it cannot agree. It cannot find consensus. It is essentially gridlocked on this matter. And one of the amendments which hasn't been put forward tonight by the member for South Belfast and the member for Foyle, if that had been brought forward, had been pushed forward, we'd be actually asking this to go back to an executive that cannot agree or make an agreed statement on Brexit, on the internal markets, or on any of those matters. And I don't think we should be pushing things to a gridlock in Northern Ireland. That's where we do need this legislation to come direct from Westminster and to help us make sure that we govern with the consensus of the whole House. I was disappointed that the member for South Belfast decided not to speak in this debate earlier and removed themselves from this. I understand the reasons why that is, because the amendment was not taken. But I would have been interested to hear the points that the SDLP would make in terms of why you would want to hand a veto to a deadlocked executive or assembly on this matter. The Northern Ireland Executive and the Northern Ireland Assembly would need to focus, and they do focus, I think, individually, but collectively they must need to focus on businesses. And I hope that they will do that and ensure that that the issues that they seek to have identified, i.e. clarity on how businesses could operate under this internal markets bill, how that clarity can be applied to businesses. The one thing I hear every day from my constituents, and I'm sure it's the same for members of the SDLP, the Alliance Party, and my own party colleagues, is we want clarity on how business should be done in Northern Ireland. And businesses from all across Northern Ireland have expressed concerns about the problem protocol and its lack of clarity. And indeed, some of those points have been well made in the Northern Ireland Affairs Select Committee, where we have sought to get answers from the government on the clarity that is ultimately required. Indeed, I quote from the response, or from a report which we made to the government about where we need clarity. We need clarity on, are there going to be import declarations? Are there going to be entry summary declarations? Is there going to be safety and security certificates? Is there going to be export health certificates for everything? Is there going to be physiosanitary certificates? And are there going to be certificates for origin? If there are, who's going to pay for them? How are they going to be monitored? Are they going to be a computer process, a desktop process? Is it going to be for every single good? Is it going to be for 2% of the goods that currently move? Please give us clarity in all of those matters. Or do what this bill suggests and remove that paperwork. Remove that burdensome red tape. Take it away altogether and let us trade. I mean, any member in this House, let's just take England, any English member representing an English constituency, would you tolerate, if you lived in Yorkshire, having to fill in an export declaration form for goods that were moving from Yorkshire to London? You would not. Why should people in Northern Ireland and businesses in Northern Ireland have to tolerate filling in or being threatened to fill in declaration forms for that sort of movement of goods? It is not acceptable and will not be tolerated, and rightly so. And I think that the government should address that. I would also appeal to those people who have tried to be encouraged by what the US Congress has said about this bill, that if the protocol is removed, they, the US Congress and the Speaker of the House, would do their best to block trade with the United Kingdom. When you consider that the highest levels of foreign and direct investment from the United States of America come to Northern Ireland and benefit constituencies like Foyle and Belfast constituencies and my own constituency and Upper Bank constituency, who in their right mind would stand in this House and praise America and American politicians for trying to stop trade. I want to see a flourishing trade with the United States of America. We've benefited from it in the past. They've been our greatest friends. And now we have people trying to influence America for the sake of this bill to stop doing trade with this United Kingdom. It's utterly preposterous. If people were to stop and think for one moment of the consequence of that and the impact that would have on people's employment and their well-being, I think they would realise that making that crass political point serves no purpose other than to call for a blockade of trade and to damage people's well-being. The amendments that we wish to bring forward in terms of state aid rules, we want to make sure that, Mr. Chairman, that Northern Ireland state aid benefits in the same way as every other part of the United Kingdom, that we don't have predatory actions from other businesses operating in the Republic of Ireland to prevent financial assistance flowing to businesses in Northern Ireland. We want to see the same flow from Her Majesty's government that we were entitled to. Nothing more, but I'll tell you this, nothing less. We're entitled to the same. We're entitled to those benefits. And if this bill helps to repair that, and I believe our amendments tomorrow will help to do that, then I hope that we could see a significant change in the direction and climate that the agreement and the Brexit agreement has heretofore put in place. Where there has been concerns about it, some of those concerns could be alleviated. Mr. Chairman, we need to address those issues. There are many other outstanding points in this bill in terms of Clause 40. There are areas that we would need to have clarity on in terms of what the special regard for the authorities and for the flow of goods between GB and Northern Ireland actually have. We need to make sure that whilst the bill appears to have reference only to the mitigating challenges facing GB to Northern Ireland trade, there is no detail on how this might work in practice in areas relating to the recognition of standards, goods and access to free trade agreements or potential divergence between EU and GB standards. We also want to make sure that devolved departments and businesses need greater clarity going forward, and can or will Her Majesty's Government disapply Northern Ireland's membership of the single market provisions for many goods? These are genuine questions that we need to have clarified, which I hope the Government does do. In terms of clauses 41 and 42, the unfettered access, which is the point that was being raised by my colleague from Upper Bann, the unfettered access issue is catered for mainly in the context of Northern Ireland to GB checks and customs. Little is contained in the bill and in the sections to the bill about GB to Northern Ireland focus. I would like to see more flesh on that point so that we see both sides of the trading equation. And indeed in clause 43, the Secretary of State will have the ability to interpret state aid protocol provision as good. We welcome that, but we want further assurances that Northern Ireland will be in the same UK framework. Those matters are important to us, Mr. Chairman, to make sure that we can fully get behind this bill and see it implemented in a way that will benefit our country. Unfortunately, what appears to lie behind all of this is the question that has dogged this Parliament and the last Parliament, and is who governs the United Kingdom? Is it Michel Barnier? Is it the European Community? Is it this Parliament? I believe it should be this Parliament and the people from all the nations of this nation coming together to govern us, and I hope that will be the outcome.